everyone, my name is Jessica Hernandez. I'm the math and science coach at my school, North Hialeah Elementary, and I wanted to share this awesome lesson with you. It's from Everglades Foundation. It's called Heart of a Watershed. So it's a high school lesson, but you can do it with even kindergarten or pre-K. So this is my homemade edition, quarantine edition, and I don't have Play-Doh. So I'm going to teach you how to make cloud dough, and you just need 2 ingredients. I'm using regular cornstarch that I bought at my local store, and this conditioner that I have here in my house. You're going to need 2 cups of the cornstarch and 1 cup of the conditioner. So you're going to start mixing it in slowly, and you're going to mix all of it in. At the end, you're going to need maybe a little bit more cornstarch. So you're going to keep doing this for a little while until you have all the cornstarch mixed in and it's not sticky anymore. So I'm going to continue mixing and meet you. Okay, so I have added most of the cornstarch and it's starting to get pretty thick. So it's now at the point to where I'm going to knead it with my hands. So you can go ahead and stick your hand in there and start smushing it. You're probably going to need to add a little bit more cornstarch because it's going to feel sticky. So you want to knead it until it's no longer sticky and it becomes a ball of dough. So it's going to get a little bit messy, but just try not to do it too fast, and have a wet cloth nearby so that you can wipe it up. So you're just going to knead it into a nice ball, and it doesn't feel too sticky. Okay, it's getting there. And you're going to want to make 2 batches of this if you don't have Play-Doh at home, because for Heart of a Watershed, we're going to be making 2 models of the Florida Everglades. One is called the Historic Unaltered, and the other one is going to be the newer altered version, and it's really going to show you how water flows through the Everglades. Okay, so I'm going to take this out of the bowl and just start kind of kneading it with my hands. It's not too sticky anymore, but at any point if it's a little sticky, I'm just going to add more cornstarch. Just keep adding until it's no longer sticky. And if you want, you can add food coloring, and that'll be very nice. I'll show you one that I made earlier that is green, or you can just leave it white. It works just the same. So as you see, it's starting to become like Play-Doh, and it feels really nice and squishy. Okay, so once you have your 2 balls of dough, you're ready to make your models. And I'm going to tell you what you need, what materials you'll be needing for that part. Okay, so for now, pat it, make sure it's feeling good. I got a ball of dough, and that's what we have. So let me show you my green one. I added quite a bit of food coloring to make it this nice green color. Okay, it's really soft and it smells really good. The conditioner has a fruity smell. It has a very nice smell. Okay, so if you have food coloring, you can add whatever color you like. I made it green so that it'll look like Florida on the map. And I'm going to leave the other one white. I'll be right back. Okay, so we're ready to start Heart of a Watershed. Teachers, if you would like access to this lesson and many more, go to evergladesliteracy.org and you can sign up for free. I already have access, so I'm going to show you how to do it. At school, usually I have these maps laminated, but at home, I didn't have them laminated, so I'm just using a 1-gallon Ziploc bag to cover it up. So here you see the Everglades historic map, and do you notice where the Everglades begin? Yeah, up here, close to Orlando. Okay, so we're going to make a model showing this water flow from the chain of lakes all the way down to Florida Bay. Okay, so notice how that water flows. And over here, I have the altered map, the one that we currently have. This is what our Everglades looks like. It also begins in the same place, right under Orlando. Here's a chain of lakes going into Lake Okeechobee. And so you'll see there's a difference. We have 2 rivers that have been dredged to exit out into each side. One is the Gulf and one is the Atlantic Ocean, and some of the water does get to go back down to Florida Bay, so we're going to talk about that. Also, I made these little tags. I didn't have all of the materials with me, so I just took a sheet of paper out of my notebook. I folded it in half, and I just cut little strips, and I labeled them. So for the historic Everglades, this is what you need to label, and for the altered Everglades, this is what needs to be labeled, just so that we can see how much has changed and the difference, because we're going to be comparing the 2 maps. So I'm going to take my white dough that we just made, and I'm going to put it right on top to get the outline of Florida. But if you don't have a map with you, it's okay. You can just do it on your table, or make sure you cover it with newspaper so it doesn't get too sticky or dirty. And I'm just going to try to copy this shape. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Right here, I'm just going to push down on it to get the shape of Florida. And I promise you it won't be perfect, and that's okay. Doesn't have to be. So I like using this because I can lift it up and look at the map and make sure that I'm doing it correctly. And as I'm molding it, I can also look at the other map to help me. I want to find where the chain of lakes would be, and Lake Okeechobee, and any important parts of the map that I want to highlight. So another thing I forgot to mention is you can use a spoon. I'll be right back with a spoon. Alright, I'm back and I have my spoon. So the reason I'm going to use a spoon is because usually at school we have those popsicle sticks, but I don't have any of my materials here at home, so this is my home edition. I'm going to use a spoon. The bottom of the spoon is going to help me dredge out the lakes and Lake Okeechobee and the Caloosahatchee River and the River of Grass, so that when I do pour the water, it's going to flow just like it normally would in the historic map. So this is before man came and made changes to Florida. So I'm going to scoop out, I'm going to more or less pick out where Lake Okeechobee is, and what do you know? Found it. I'm going to scoop it out and add this to the rest of my leftover dough. Okay. And right above Lake Okeechobee, I know that I have the chain of lakes and I have Lake Kissimmee, so I'm going to dig in little grooves. And you want to leave your dough a little bit thick so that you make grooves and the water will move through it, okay? So I'm just making these little poles and these little lines to represent the chain of lakes. And that's what feeds into Lake Okeechobee when it rains and sends water. And once the water reaches Lake Okeechobee will overflow and send that very much needed water down to Florida Bay. And it will cover all of the Everglades. Okay, so my sculpting isn't perfect, doesn't have to be, but more or less you can kind of see my chain of lakes and my little Lake Kissimmee flowing into Lake Okeechobee. Alright, so underneath Lake Okeechobee is the river of grass. So I'm going to kind of just level this off a little bit so the water will flow down all the way down into Florida Bay. Alright, so I'm just taking off a little bit of that dough so it'll flow down. Okay. Down into Florida Bay. And just put this with the rest of your leftover dough. Hopefully this is going to work. Now I'm also going to make a little pathway for the Caloosahatchee River as well as the St. Lucie River. So if you need to, you can look at your other map to more or less figure out. But basically those rivers, they flow from, west and east. So going west from Lake Okeechobee is the Caloosahatchee River. Okay, it's just a small little meandering river before it was dredged up to be wider and let more water out. Just a little guy. And let me not forget, okay, I might not say this right, but Lake Hickpachee, which is right outside of Lake Okeechobee. So I'm going to dredge a little hole there for Lake Hickpachee. And make sure I've got my Caloosahatchee River. Okay, and now I'm going to do my St. Lucie River. So it's going to flow out of Lake Okeechobee to the east, into the Atlantic Ocean. Okay. So with my spoon, I'm just making a little line. Show the St. Lucie River. Just a small one. Alright. Okay, so this big flow of water in the historic map is also known as the River of Grass. So in a few moments I'm going to be labeling, so I'll come back to you once I'm done labeling my map, and then we get to try it out and check that water flow. Alright, be right back. Alright, I'm back. So I've labeled my map, and this is the best I can do. I have the Kissimmee River that from the chain of lakes comes down right here into Lake Okeechobee. So this is Lake Okeechobee. this little hole right there is this little Lake Hicpochee. And you can see the Caloosahatchee River is nice and long. And over here, this hole is supposed to be Lake Kissimmee. And the St. Lucie River is over here to the side. It's not really connected to Lake Okeechobee from the new map, the historic map. So I just kind of made it look the way it does in the map. And then here's a river of grass. It flows all the way down into Florida Bay. So what we're going to do now is get some water, and we're going to watch the water flow all the way from the top, chain of lakes, down Kissimmee River, Lake Okeechobee, and let's see where the water meanders. So as I'm adding the water, just think of it as a nice rainfall over Florida. Okay, about my labels, I forgot to mention, usually I would use toothpicks, and so they would be standing, but at home I didn't have any toothpicks, so what I did was after I cut up the little pieces of paper and wrote the names, I put tape over it to make it a little bit waterproof. And I'm just going to move Lake Okeechobee over a little bit so it doesn't get in the way. And let's see what happens when I add water. Usually I use a dropper, but again, I'm at home. I don't have all of my tools, so I'm just using a spoon. And I'm just going to be real careful. Put a little bit. Okay, I don't know if you can see what I'm seeing, but it's already reached Lake Okeechobee. I'm going to continue to add some water. This is a nice little rain for Florida in the wet season. Okay, do we notice anything else? Let's keep adding some water. I see that Caloosahatchee has gotten some water. Let me check on my river of grass here. Yep, it's nice and wet. Let me check out Florida Bay. It hasn't reached there yet. So I'm going to keep adding some water. It's a good wet season. Let's see what happens down in Florida Bay. All right, I hope you can see what I'm seeing. Starting to release water. It's gone all the way around the state of Florida, down here, down south, all over. Okay, so I think I did a pretty good job here. I would say this has been successful. So when you're making your model, keep it a little bit thick, not too thick, so that you're able to dredge out all the little lakes and rivers, and especially the river of grass, because your key goal is you want it to reach Florida Bay. So this is a wonderful representation of what used to happen. And I'll be back with the altered map. Okay, so to save you some time, I went ahead and made my altered map and labeled it. Again, if you have toothpicks, that'll be better because you don't have to take any labels off. But I'm going to take a few labels off just so we can see the water flow. So I'm going to remove Lake Okeechobee. And I don't know if you can already see a difference between the historic map and the altered map, but I hope you can. Alright, I'm going to add water. So another wonderful wet rainy season in Florida. Right away I saw it go into Lake Okeechobee, and I don't know if you can see it, but I also see it starting to flow out of the St. Lucie River. Let's add a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to move this label. This is the Everglades Agricultural Area right under Lake Okeechobee. So you can see. And these long lines are basically just my way of showing the water conservation areas, how they transport water. Okay, I see the Caloosahatchee River has received some water. Okay, it's pooling, starting to come down through some of the water conservation areas, and there's a little bit of water here in Florida Bay. Okay, see Tamiami Trail, it's a bridge. Good thing is that now we have about a mile where the water can flow more directly. This map isn't even showing that, so just for you to know. All right, do you notice a difference? Do you see, look at my Florida Bay, nice and moist, lots of fresh water needed down there. And this map, what do you think is happening to the water? Some of it is returning to Florida Bay, but do you think it's as much? Those are good questions to think about. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, Heart of a Watershed, from Everglades Foundation. The reason I wanted to share this lesson is because on Earth Day, I like to do this activity at my school, and the main reason is because it really shows how important water is for the Everglades. Something that maybe you didn't know is that nearly 8 million Floridians rely on the Everglades for their water supply. That's a lot of people, and that's a lot of water, and guess where it comes from? I hope you guessed the Everglades, because that is correct. So, every day is Earth Day, we know this, and I wanted to just share this message to please conserve water. So when you're brushing your teeth, turn off the water, and instead of taking a bath, take a shower, and time yourself. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you dry up the dough with paper towels, you can save them in a Ziploc bag for later use.